So good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all. I'm very happy to see how a large plethora of different nationalities, and we're all together here to you know if you're aware of GPMA, we have created this webinar series with the aim of facilitating the exchange of concepts and ideas, insights, and best practices among both practitioners and academics worldwide. So tonight, we're especially excited that Mr. Adnan Rafiq Ahmed has accepted our invitation to speak on the topic of enterprise risk management. Mr. Adnan is a master trainer certified by PECB. He is an operational excellence expert and has worked in the field for 20 years. He has extensive experience in multiple career dimensions such as project management, operational excellence, Lean Six Sigma, risk management, business continuity management. He's certified PMP, ITIL, Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt, inshallah, lead implementer, lead auditor of ISO 9001, trained the trainers, Balance Scorecard, Apollo risk analyst, and he has conducted more than 300 training courses and trained about 5,000 professionals for certifications, including PMP, ITIL, and Lean Six Sigma. To quickly go over the webinar format, Mr. Adnan will have the floor till about 8:45, during which he's actually just shared with me that he's welcoming all questions during the webinar. He would like this to be interactive and for you to interact, but also just in case to make sure that we cover all the content we want to share with you in the limited time that we have. Feel free to also write your questions in the Q&A section, and inshallah, if he does not get to them during the session and during the 45 minutes, then inshallah, he will try to answer them, as many as he can of them, during the last 15 minutes of our hour. So having said that, I wish to delay you no longer, and I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Adnan to commence.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Nabila, for your introduction. Everyone, please give me a shout out. Are we ready to go ahead and start? So please type in ready. Are we ready? Okay, so I can see we have Fatima said ready, Umar said ready, Iram, Muhammad ready, Sheikh ready, Hind ready, Aisha ready. Okay, so very good. So we are ready, all right? So thank you very much. Let me share my screen and then we'll go ahead and start into our session, right? As Nabila said, if you have any questions, please type in or you can raise your hand. All right, we will have a specific time to ask questions, but I don't mind if you ask questions during the session itself, all right? So that's okay. So we'll go ahead and start. Just want to make sure that you can see my screen, and I see that some people are still joining. So inshallah, I think they will not miss much as long as they join, right away or soon. So please confirm you can see my screen. Yes, so see this. Okay, you can see that. I believe that audio is clear, right? All right, so today our session is about enterprise risk management, which is focused to handle the VUCA world, which is the volatility, uncertainty, your complexity in your organization. Now, here's a question before we go ahead and start. So how many of you, by the way, Nabila, if you already have the poll available, if you can go ahead and start. The first poll that we have, can you do that? Let me see. Okay, in the meantime, maybe we'll do that a little bit later. All right, but the concern is that how many of you are, so type in the chat, how many of you are already aware or are you been working in the risk management area or risk management department? So how many of you already are familiar with the risk management? Type in yes or no. So Noura said yes, Hind said yes, Ashraf said yes, Nada said no, Sahar yes, Salah yes, Professor Dr. Ahmed somewhat, okay, very good. Zuhair said no, Mutaz yes, okay, very good. So we have a quite large audience. They already understand the risk management. They've been working in the risk management, and some of them are new to risk management. Okay, that's good. Now let's talk about our agenda. It'll be about facilitator. So already Nabila gave my introduction, so there is no need to further introduce myself. Except I think I'll share my contact information later on, and then we talk about what are the risks, what and why enterprise risk management, which is the core topic of our discussion today, and ERM approach and ERM essentials, I think, which is very important for us to understand, and then risk management processes, which is down the line part of the implementation, not at the ERM level, but yes, this will cascade down, all right, towards the risk management implementation. So we'll talk about that also. And then again, we leave a big room for question, answers, and discussion, because that's where the value come in towards the risk management topic, all right, or the ERM topic. So just to add to my introduction, this was last month in September. There was CISO Awards, and I'm standing just right there somewhere, all right? That's an award given by these guys, all right? So that's just something that I want to share about myself. So that was about risk management and business continuity, all right? So it was in the summit, 200 CIO summit, right? In Baku, Azerbaijan. All right, so now talking about enterprise risk management. So first we talk about what are the risks. So I find it very appropriate to discuss and share this information, which was actually shared when we shared the link to register, right? So that's why I want to use that one. Risks are uncertain event and may halt the organization of achieving its objectives. So overall, an uncertain event that can actually stop your organization to achieve the objective. That's a critical element that we are looking at. Now, by the way, have you heard about risks being positive? So risks, whenever risks come to your mind, if I ask you what color comes to your mind, whenever you heard about risk, what color comes to your mind? So please type in the chat. Fatima said red, Bandar said red, Reem said yeah, red. Negative, Anam, yes. Amira, yeah, exactly. All right, very good. Nawaf, red, green, yellow. Okay, so red is basically what we look at whenever we look at the risk, all right? But do you know risks are threats, right? So threats, which means negative, that will stop you achieving your objective in the organization. But then risks can also be opportunities, right? So risks can also help you to achieve your objectives. Have you heard about that before? So risk is an uncertain event, which may happen, may not happen, just happens out of the blue. But we need to work towards it, right? We need to work to identify the risks. Those uncertain events, we need to identify and find out what may happen, all right? So that we can benefit ourselves as well. Just to give an idea, the event that I just show you in a previous slide, at the last day, third day, when the awards were given out, they asked the audience that, where do you think we should host our next event? And they did a quick poll. It was among 3 different countries. I think it was, one was in Vietnam, the other one was South Africa, and then another country, all right? I don't remember exactly what was that. But when they, most of the audience, they said, okay, let's do that in South Africa. And the management said, okay, we agree, let's do it in South Africa. And they announced that they have to start working for the whole event because it's a huge event. It's 200 CIOs of the world, 50 countries, all right, people, they join from different areas. So they want to start working on it right away. And the event is supposed to happen in September or October, somewhere next year. So that means we're talking about 12 months down the line. Why they want to start working on it right away? Maybe to get better sponsors, maybe to get better deals from the hotels they are going to host that event in. They get better discounts. So all those is actually part of their positive uncertain event. All right. So normally you're supposed to get maybe 10% discount, but maybe because of early negotiations, they may able to get 50% discount. So that means it will help them to achieve their objective better than late, or better than never. So this is basically what we are talking about, that there are so many risks that can be opportunities. Maybe they can get some better leadership motivator speaker. So the one that they may not get, with a time frame of 2 or 3 months, but with the 8 months or 12 months down the line, they may bring a better well-known speaker. All right, like this time they brought in John. So now maybe they can bring even better, right? So this is basically what we're talking about, to make sure that you may have a positive risk, which is called opportunity, because that will help you to get your objectives done. So at the end, what is the quote we're talking about here? Is to achieve your organizational objective. All right. So uncertain event threats will stop you to achieve your objectives. Opportunities will help you to get your objectives done. All right. So ERM is essentially one of the most important department in any organization, who identifies different risks at different levels, provide risk management policy and framework, and builds risk control response at corporate or leadership and plant or technical levels. Now I'm reading it from here because I don't know whether you read this properly or no, because that's basically the introduction of the ERM, risks and enterprise risk management. So ERM often reports to audit committee and management committee for the top risks, and provide close oversight on risk management. Now, I just want to make sure, and then of course, it's supposed to have a structured approach. So just want to make sure that we understand this in a proper way. So what we're talking about here as an enterprise risk management, what are they doing? First of all, why do we need them? By the way, there is a word called GRC, right? Governance, risk, and compliance. How many of you already have GRC in your organization? Please type in yes or no. Do you have GRC in your organization? Bandar said yes. Hind said yes. Nawaf yes. Fatima said no. iPhone, I think that's Al-Safety, no. Motors, no. Farheen, no. Sheikh, no. Iman, no. Nur Fatima, no. All right, that's fine. See, TQM stands. TQM is total quality management. So that's basically quality management, quality department. Yes, so that's another approach. Maybe, again, depending on the organization to organization, they may have a specifically GRC. And if it's a bigger organization, mostly they will have a GRC, because they have to work towards governance, risk, and compliance. All right, legal laws and so forth. And if it's a smaller organization, they may not have a GRC, but instead of GRC, they may have like TQM, and that is taking care of some of the risks. All right. So they join with some other departments. For some, yes, as Bandar, you said, so some of them, they combine with audit department and the risk department. So it depends on the organization, how big you are, and how are you running your organization. So what is your structured approach? That's basically what we are looking at. All right. So moving on with the risk identification. So risk is basically what? It's an uncertain event. All right. It could be a threat, it could be an opportunity, but majorly because our organizations, they focus more on threats. That's why we look at risk as red instead of looking at it as green as well. So normally risk can be positive or negative, and you should work on both elements. All right. So what is ERM? Enterprise risk management. As you see that it's to take care of in the previous identification. So the keyword here was given, and the keyword was the top management or the leadership approach. The leaders in the organization, what they want to do. Their concern is that the organization will achieve the objectives. That's basically what they want to make sure. So what do you have in the organization is the vision. So the vision that you have that you can achieve in 10 years or maybe 20 years or maybe 50 years, are you moving in the right direction? So every single day, are you moving towards or getting closer to your vision itself by achieving the objectives of different departments or the mission statement and so forth? So that's basically top leadership is doing. And one of their critical focus is the risk. And since pandemic, risk management and the business continuity has taken front seat. So it has become a hotcake because of what we have faced, what we have practically experienced. And that is where we want to make sure that something uncertain will not happen to us and we are not ready for it. So what we need to do is we need to get ready proactively so that our organization will achieve the objectives that they're supposed to achieve. All right, so we'll talk about business continuity. It's another keyword linked with the ERM. So we'll talk about that a little bit. I'll just give a quick introduction to that. We planned a separate session for it, right? So we'll not go into more detail of that. But anyway, what the top leadership is going to work on is to make sure that your risks has been taken care of and on enterprise level. So we're talking about enterprise risk management is risk management on high level. So who are enterprise risk management guys reporting to? They're reporting to most likely GRC committee, if you have the GRC committee. If you don't have the GRC committee, then they are going to report to their audit committee or their executive committee, all right? So, or MC, management committee. So again, depending on the organization, they will have different high-level committees, top-level committees, and they're going to report them. And of course, audit committee or the MC is going to report to the CEO of the company or to the board as well, all right? Mostly ERM directly doesn't report to board, but yes, sometimes your risks, part of the deck when you're reporting to the board, 1 or 2 slides are about risk management, are about ERM. So you need to make sure that your whatever work you're doing towards risk management, it does get to the board, right? They do see what you have been doing. All right, so it's not something that will not go to the top. So it's very important department because again, remember, what is the leadership looking at is to make sure that nothing will happen that will stop their objectives to be achieved. So that's where ERM on enterprise level will actually play a role. So when you talk about the enterprise level, it means if you have an organization, so let me give you an analogy. If you are talking about huge organization with 6 or 7 different, let's say, affiliates, all right? Or you have, because under the affiliate, or let's say you're talking about 6 or 7 different factories, all right, within one group of companies, all right? Or different companies under one group. So then you have these companies have their own risk registers, all right, for department-wise or most likely a factory-wise and so forth. But then it all cascade down from the top, all right, from the ERM. Because at the top, someone has to make sure that what's happening to all different departments or to all, now we are talking about from the bottom up. So different departments and then different factories or companies, and then to the top as an enterprise. So think of this, it's flowing from up to down or top to bottom, and again from bottom to top, right? So you're looking at risk management overall in both perspectives, but ERM specifically is a top-down approach, where the top management will actually bring in the power, will actually give an authority to different specific people to work, implement the risk management in the organization. So ERM actually is a top-down approach where you are actually going to have authority from the top. Now, talking about your ERM, we understand that you are going to work out on different elements. So what are we looking at? You have the volatility of your organizations. Now, we are more volatile than before. We're talking about pandemic. We are talking about the geopolitical situation. We are talking about, so many risks, all right? So now our organizations are more volatile towards achieving the objectives than before, even though we are more advanced technically and professionally and based on the people, their skills, but we have also become more volatile. Look at the cyber threats, all right? And then we're talking about uncertainty. Yes, it's very difficult to say that, what may happen tomorrow or what may not happen tomorrow. You may just, wake up and you find out, a news. It could be anything from your technical infrastructure up to your cyber attack or the geopolitical situation. And suddenly you find out that you cannot get your material because your suppliers have gone bankrupt. It could be anything. So uncertainty. And then we talk about complexity. Now, again, we have become more complex because of the competition, because of the way that we run our business, because we have become more international, and because, since we go more international, because we have expanded more, we have become more complex, more departments, more people, more systems, all right? And then we talk about more ambiguity, all right? Are we not clear about our vision? Are we not clear about exactly what we want to do? Well, because unless if we become very much focused, ambiguity will be there, all right? Because of manpower, because of people, because of skills. So we all need to work towards the VUCA world, and then how it can take care is through the proactive approach of risk management. So a concern, which is risk management, is a proactive approach. How it is proactive? Before something will happen, we are going to work towards uncertainty. We are the one who are identifying our risk before they are occurring, right? For every organization, you have to identify your risk. And I'll talk about the risk management processes. It could be applied on a top level and on a bottom level as well, but we'll talk about that. So risk management is a proactive approach. Before any risk will happen, you will identify, you try to prepare for it, all right? Everyone, are we good so far? We understand that? Yes, no? Everything is good? Umar said yes, Hind said yes, Fatima yes, Khalid yes. Okay, good. So, sorry, I'm having sore throat, so my voice is not as sharp as it's supposed to be, but hopefully you can hear me well. All right, so then we talk about structured approach, all right? As I said, the reason of our ERM is to have a structured approach towards risk management, right? Towards these uncertain events. So what is a structured approach? Most of the organizations, they will have GRC, and GRC is governance, risk, and compliance. And the risk part is actually taken care by or is representing ERM, enterprise risk management. So in enterprise risk management, there are multiple ways. What are these guys doing? What are their roles and responsibilities? So one of their role is to put up some, the essentials that you have to have, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But then what they have to have is the top risk, which are the risks that are actually kind of like endorsed by the top management, endorsed by the leadership. For example, if you go to them and tell them, hey, you know what, we may run into our cash flow problem. Now, do they really tell you that, yes, cash flow is the problem? So maybe it's a technical problem, or, somewhere down the line, below, it's kind of like an operational risk, or is it on your top level risk? So you need to look into what the risk is. Then you talk about geopolitical. Is it a top risk? So normally some organizations, they come up with top 10, top 20 risks that are from the top management. And some of them, they call it principal risk, all right? Again, it depends on what you want to call them, but those risks are the one which are responsibility of the ERM to show it to their board or the committee or the CEO or the president that these are the risks that we have. And those risks are cascaded down to different departments, to different people who actually have the role to come up with the control of the risk. Someone, they need to do more analysis of the risk, and they have to come up with the risk response, that what are we going to do if the risk will happen? All right, so that's basically what we are talking about, the top risk. Then when you talk about the top risks, down the line, if you have factories, then each factory will come up with the risk register, or different departments will come up with the risk register. By the way, have you prepared risk register, or did you work on risk register? Please type in yes, no. Have you worked on risk register? Hind said yes, Sheikh said yes, Muhammad said yes, Khalid yes, Mutaz Anam said yes, Noura yes, Bandar said no, Nasser said no. Okay, very good. That's good. Okay, so we understand that they're risk register, right? So those who said yes, please type in, just everyone, type in one element that you have in your risk register. Just a quick one, all right? Everyone, those who said yes, please type in one element that you have in your risk register. Seher said impact. Okay, very good. Yes. You have impact in your risk register. KRIS. So key risk indicators, risk definition. Okay. Severity, category, likelihood, probability, and impact. Very good. Yes, exactly. So what normally happens in risk register, these are your table format, let's say Excel file based most of the time. So you type in the risk, Then you type in the risk impact, so which is your impact and then your probability. Then, of course, you talk about, so impact multiply probability gives you the severity of the risk. Again, in your company, you may have already a framework where you know that which risk will fall into which category. It's more detailed discussion, so we're not going to talk about this in our session today. So then you talk about your risk controls. Again, then you talk about your risk response. Who will take care of the risk? By what time they take care of the risk? So you can track it in a proper way. You may have your risk register a comparison with the last month or with the last quarter. So a risk either has been deteriorated or has become better, right? So you may also have this kind of, let's say, indication. All right. So yeah, exactly. All right. So that's good. That's about the risk register, right? Maybe in the detailed session when we do, we'll talk about risk register in more detail, but that's all. We're going to talk about risk register right now. Thank you, Hani, about this topic. All right. So we'll talk about risk appetite in a few minutes. All right. So risk essentials. So you have to have risk essentials. All right. By the way, here, when I talk about in this structured approach, so here we are talking about what in the organization you should have towards the risk management, all right, towards enterprise risk management. You have multiple risk registers. Now think about this from bottom up. You have different factories or different companies, and every company will have 5, 6, 7 departments. So majorly, let's say operational department, we talk about the sales department, we talk about quality department, we talk about technical department. So everyone will have their risk register. They identify their risk, they do their risk assessment, they do their risk analysis, they come up with risk control and risk responses, action items, who are the action owners, deadlines, so that they actually complete their risk register. They update the risk register and they complete it over time. Now, all the risk registers that you have, let's say in one company, you have 6 or 7 risk registers. You have to sum it up, all right, or combine them together, maybe all the high level risks or the risks with the high severity or moderate severity, you have to actually combine them together, maybe report it to the upper management or the ERM. So ERM will actually work out on those risks and maybe they report it to audit committee as well. So this is how it will flow from bottom up, all right? So just to give you an idea, top risks are separate risk register with the top risk, and you have the other risk register, which is operational level risk. Now, in your organization, again, depending on how many ISO certifications you have, you may prepare your safety risk register as a separate one. You may have your technical risk register or operational risk register as a separate one. So there could be separate risk register in one organization, all right? But again, it's a very good idea to first of all have a same template for all risk register. Because when you combine them together, you know exactly all the columns will align together and you can have one dashboard to look at all the risks from different areas. So please note that it's very important when you're implementing risk management in your organization. All right, so now let's talk about the essentials of the risk management. That's very important. You have to have the framework. So from the top management, when they ask you to go ahead and implement the ERM, what is the first thing that you have to have? Well, you want to have the ERM policy, all right? I mean, policy will come from the top and it's supposed to be signed by the top head of the organization, mostly a CEO or the president, right? So, or the general manager. So again, depending on in your organization, who you have. So they will sign the ERM policy. And basically, what is the policy saying? Majorly, it's saying that we work towards identifying uncertain events, controlling them, and putting up a response to make sure that we should be able to achieve our objective. So it's again, achieving the objective to make sure that we will not fail. Because remember, what will happen if you fail? Will your customers be happy or unhappy? Of course, they'll be unhappy. Will your finance department be happy or unhappy? Of course, they'll be unhappy because you will not be able to make any sales. Revenue will stop coming in. Your customers will start leaving you. They start going to your competition. So this is basically what you want to make sure. Some of the table of contents I put up there that you have to have in your framework. So how many of you have a ERM framework in your organizations? Everyone, please type in yes, no. How many of you have ERM framework in your organization? Nawaf said yes. Fatima said no. Muhammad said no. Suhaib said no. Anam, yes. Iman, Fatima, no. Ashraf said no. Sheikh, risk management plan. Reba said no. Now, risk management plan is a little bit different than the risk management framework, all right? Saqib said no. Okay, good. Hint said yes. Yeah. Look at the content of the framework. And by the way, in different organizations, they may have more or less of the content, but they're mostly same. You can add more, you can remove some. Thank you, Hani. So ISO 31000 is actually a risk management guideline. All right. Those who are familiar with ISO standards, so 31000 is a guideline. So if you understand the guideline in a proper way, mostly it will tell you that what to do. You can actually make a checklist from that guideline that have we done this. All right. So that's a very good guideline. Yes, it's an ISO standard. All right. It's ISO 31000. And by the way, there is a certification for that as well. It's an individual certification that you can get it from PECB. All right, so you can prepare for that and you can take an exam, you become certified. Anyway, we'll share the details in a few minutes. So look at the content, then you talk about the scope of your ERM, policy management. You talk about the ERM structure and standards. So what are the ERM objectives that you have towards your organization? What are the ERM principles? Hani, you mentioned about risk appetite earlier, right? So it'll be coming up in a few minutes again, but you also put in your framework, what is the risk appetite? Your risk assessment criteria, your identification, mitigation of your risk controls and practices, your ERM governance, who are you going to report to, right? Who are the owner of the risk on different levels? Somewhere, a department manager will be the owner of the risk register. Somewhere, you have your ERM director will be the owner of the overall corporate top 10 risks, right? So again, depending on your organization, the governance. ERM procedures, so how you communicate, what you will communicate, how you apply your risk management processes. So the risk identification, analysis, evaluation. So those risk management processes, we'll talk about that as well. So you mentioned about the procedure. So here we are talking about the detail of your risk management. So the framework will give you a complete roadmap that how you are moving towards your risk management, right? So that gives you a very good idea how you're supposed to implement risk management in the organization. So that's a framework. If you don't have framework, you are in a big trouble, right? Because that means you don't know which way to go. There is no proper direction. There's no proper procedure. So that means one manager is doing things by himself. The other manager, she's doing things by herself. So all the different managers, when they're applying risk management, they are applying it based on their own understanding. They have their own understanding of the impact scale, probability scale, the risk classification, right? How are you going to identify the class 1 or class 2 of the risk? Is it probability multiplied by impact, or is it probability plus or add to the impact? So again, depending on your framework, will give you a proper idea how you're going to do it, all right? So this will come from your risk framework. Okay, here you're talking about risk appetite, right, Hani? Just give you a few idea here, right? So risk appetite is basically how much risk your organization is willing to take. So your stakeholders are the one who need to make sure that, yes, we will take specific risk to specific level. We can go beyond this level, or we can never go beyond the specific level. We have to stay within this level. So depending on the organization, they can actually take up the risk, or they have to simply go and avoid the risk, or they have to work towards the risk retention. Now, risk, again, it may come from strategic perspective, health and safety perspective, people perspective, stakeholders, financial perspective, operational perspective. So different levels of risks will help you to understand what appetite you have toward the risk. Now, a simple question to you all. You're working in your organization, right? So if I tell you that you can expand your organization 10 times, so whatever the revenue you are generating right now, you can generate 10 times more revenue if you take a risk of only 1% of your revenue right now. For example, you have to spend money to come up with a new tool or new system, and that will be only 1% of your revenue that you have to spend. And then you may expand your organization by 10 times. Will you do it? Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, of course you will do it. All right. You will do it. So because look at the benefit, look at the comparison. So 1% of your revenue is here and 10 times growth is somewhere here. That's basically what it is. We all take risks, but some of us are smart, so we take calculated risk. Some of us are not that smart, so we don't take calculated risk, we just take risk. And it's based on our gut feeling. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not true. So we have to be smart enough to take calculated risk. You can go ahead with your gut feeling as well, but still you have to look at the risk on the calculative perspective. So that's where the appetite comes in. Now, risk appetite, there's a question by Razan. What's a risk appetite and risk tolerance? So risk appetite is basically how much how much appetite do you have towards risk? How much appetite you have towards the risk? How much risk you want to take? $1 million, $2 million, $50 million to become 10 times, expand 10 times to what you are right now. So what's your risk appetite towards expanding 10 times? But risk tolerance is actually a limit or level that you cannot go beyond that level. All right, that's your tolerance. I cannot take risk more than, let's say, $100,000. That's my tolerance. All right. So if it's going to cost me more than $100,000, I will stop. I will not go beyond that. All right. So they are very much, correlated in a way that your risk appetite is on a, again, it's coming from the top management and telling you, hey guys, we can go, by $2 million in order to expand by $100 million. But then again, you have to put up your, then somewhere down the line, you have to put for specific elements, specific risk tolerance, right? It's not going to be only for one risk, $2 million. Now you have to spend that, you have to spread it out among different risks that you have in your organization. All right. And it will cascade down towards your different departments as well. Risk appetite will mostly come from your top management. They are the one who are telling you that, hey guys, you know what, we are going towards that level of risk. Okay, so if the risk will affect your health and safety, will not take it. Now, again, it depends on what risk are we talking about. In some organizations, remember, there are different type of health and safety incidents, right? There is a fatality. Some organizations, they don't want to take risk at all. By the way, it's I don't know, it's ironically incorrect or ironically sad to say that some organizations, they already know that there'll be fatalities in their business because of the way that their business is, and they already count that in, like, most likely in a year we will have 10 fatalities. So they keep this, $10 million aside because they have to pay to their families, and they run the business that way. So because it's part of the nature, yes, whether we call it criminal, bad, yeah, but this is what it is, right? But some organizations, which are very good organizations, they're ethically performing very well, they're working in the right way, they don't ignore, they don't take health and safety incidents as just a random incident. They're very much serious about it. A single soul is very important for them. So for them, they work on zero incidents, especially, see, there are recordable incidents, there are just minor injuries, or there are fatalities, as I said. So minor injuries, those, of course, they have to work towards that. Fire incidents, fertility is one of the big thing, all right? Even one fertility is actually a huge incident for them. I know some organizations, for their employees, they really work towards the fertilities, but their contractors, they don't really care that much. So you see that's not really good. So you need to look at towards overall enterprise management and work towards a right ethical approach, which means you have to ask your contractors to really implement the ERM as well, or implement the risk appetite towards health and safety specifically. All right. So there are different type of things that we are looking at. So that's the risk appetite. And then you talk about one of the essentials that you have to have. Now, without this, if someone will tell me that you have a very good risk management and your organization is very good towards that, and everything is good, but and if I ask you, how many times do you meet in a year? So if I ask you, all of you, please type in the numbers. How many times you meet for the risk management in 1 year? Let's say now we are in September or October now. So in 2023, how many times you have met for risk management? So Nawaf said quarterly. Hind said 3, that means quarterly. Hani said 10, it means every month. Sheikh said 3, that's quarterly. Shaima once, like so far, just one time now? Or is it once a month or once a quarter? Quarterly, monthly, 3 means quarterly, at least 4 per year. Okay, that's quarterly. Okay, good. Now, so, okay, for ERM level, if you're meeting quarterly, that's fine. That's how it's supposed to be. Those who are doing only once a year, that means you are trying to fulfill one of the audit requirements, right? Or one of the requirement of the ISO standard. Like for example, if you're ISO 9001 certified or ISO 22301 business continuity certified, you're fulfilling their requirement that yes, we meet. But proper risk management require multiple meetings on a lower level, operational level, department level. It should be once a month. When you talk about ERM level, it should be once a quarter, right? So that means 4 times a year. I'm talking about from practical perspective. In your framework, if you mention that we must meet once a year, you fulfill the framework requirement. That's fine, once a year. But if you are talking about proper risk management implementation approach, yes, on ERM level, quarterly is what you must meet. And of course, operational level, every month you must meet, all right? Because the risks will keep changing. The risks will become high or low. Probability may become high or low. Impact may become high or low. Then you also have to track that how controls are operating. Do we have more controls? Do we need more controls? What about your action plans? Do we need more action plans? So all those things are required to be taken into account. All right, so then we talk about, after the meetings, you have to have a very strong monitoring and control of risk management. How many of you have dashboards in your organization for risk management? Dashboards. So you look at, Kaleem said yes, Hind said yes. Okay, so some companies, they have a tool. Some organizations, they only have Excel file and they prepare dashboard based on Excel file. All right. So it shows you whether you have high risks or low risk, or whether your, the indicators that you talk about, the speedometer. So where are we? Or it could be the color scheme, red, yellow, green. However, the way that you want to have, but you must have enterprise level risk dashboards. So it's showing me a view of the top 10 risks, what's happening, or top 20 risk. It also show me my all different, let's say, vice president level risk, VP's risk. Then it show me all the manager department level risk. So we have 3 different levels. It's showing me all the risks on different levels with the dashboard on what's happening on each level. So any level, it's showing me more risks that I have. For example, any area where I have 3 class 1 risk or high level risk, it's supposed to show me a red indicator. Overall risk health is red. So that's telling me that where I am, where I require more focus, where the top management require more focus. So that's basically what you have to have. Yes, I have a dashboard example, right? So I'll try to show you in a few minutes as well, Hani, all right? I'll try to do that. Okay, and then once I cover this up, all right, while we'll be taking your question answers, I'll open up the risk dashboard, right, for you. So the monitoring and control is very important. You have to have this. Now, quickly, we'll talk about the risk management processes. I want you guys to tell me, what are the risk management processes do we have? So type in the chat if you already know the risk management processes. Tell me, guys, I'll be looking at your information. I believe that we will be sharing the presentation slides. All right, so don't worry about it. All right, tell me, there's some risk management processes. So tell me, what are they? Okay, so we are talking about a risk identification, a risk evaluation, measure risk, risk response, mitigation, probability, risk tracking, risk mitigation, define risk. Okay, very good, very good. So a lot of information that I can see there. So let me share my screen again. Okay, so yes, we talk about plan risk management. So first thing is you want to plan on how are you going to run your risk management processes, the procedures, right? So first you need to plan. And part of the planning, if you think one way, if I want to apply this on a high level, that's where I will have my ERM framework. That's where I will have my probability scale. So what will be, let's say mostly 5 by 5 is the most popular one. So what does 5 means? What does 2 means? What does 1 means? So if it's rarely happening, only 10% chance of something happening is 1. If it's 90% or above something happening is 5. So I need to have my probability scale. That's part of the planning, my impact scale. So if it's going to impact, let's say more than 80% of my revenue, that's 5. That's very high. Something which is less than 10% impacting my revenue, 20% could be 1. So you need to have your probability impact scale. And so many other things as well that you plan. So first thing is you plan your risk management. Then you identify the risk. Remember the risk register we talked about earlier? So the risk definition, what are the risks we are facing? Now, by the way, since we are talking about this, I want you guys to quickly tell me what kind of risks do you face in your organizations? Just one risk. Each one of you guys, just type in one risk that you face in your organization. Thank you, Nawaf. Internal, Pascal, yes. Financial risk. Electrical risk. Okay, that's technical detail level, yeah. Safety risk, yes. And we can be more specific about safety also, right? Financial, we can be more, again, specific. It could be cash flow risk, could be tax or zakat risk. Again, Motas, in operational risk, there are so many different type of risks, right? It could be equipment breakdown, turnover risk. Yes, exactly. That's Bandar, very important, especially these days. Patient safety, okay. Late response, supplier risk, contractors, going bankrupt could be another risk, right? Management risks such as management turnover, maybe. Okay, so yeah, there are different type of risks, exactly, right? So you identify the risk. By the way, you can always be more specific. So then we talk about, after you identify the risk, you do qualitative analysis, which means risk is high, low, medium, all right? It could be based on your just understanding in the company, or in the framework, you may have a guideline to do a qualitative risk analysis. Based on the impact and probability scale, you get this done. All right. Then you do the quantitative risk analysis, which is more detailed. That's where you try to find out your risk, how much financial impact your risk will have. So it's not something which is very simple and easy like qualitative analysis. It's more detailed. Sometimes you don't have a way to validate the dollar amount for a specific risk, that this risk is going to cost us this much money, because sometimes the risk has never happened. And sometimes if it will happen again, it may impact even worse than what had happened earlier. So that means this time the impact could be 10 times more than what it was last time. So it requires a lot of work, a lot of understanding. And of course, you have to come up with a specific financial model for the quantitative risk analysis for your organization. And it may not fit you all. So what Yahya is doing in his organization could be completely different than Hani and then Nawaf. So we need to work out on different quantitative analysis based on your organization. Okay, very good. So then you have risk response. So we come up with each risk, you have to come up with what control do you already have? And then what risk response we need to come up with in order to avoid the risk. Remember, there are risk responses. Remember the risk strategies? Risk strategies. I'm typing it up here. ATMA. Avoid. So completely avoid the risk. T, transfer. So whether you buy the insurance, so you transfer the risk to them. It doesn't mean the risk will not happen, but now they're responsible to pay you back if this will happen and you have damage. And then mitigate. Try to minimize the risk. Try to look at the facility and what equipment you require before you get your material arrive. And then A is acceptance. If the risk is on specific low level, you may just accept it. Like, if it will happen, we'll see what to do. All right. So it's ATMA. All right. So that's ATMA. Yeah. Accept means that the risk is low, impact and probability is low. So if the risk will happen, we will see what to do. All right. We don't really proactively take an action because remember, your company may have a reserve, money and time. So you can use that reserve to overcome the risk that will happen when the risk is low level. Right. So you only accept the risks which are low level mostly. All right. If you have a very high level risk and you are accepting it, now that's wrong. All right. So this is not what you're supposed to do. Accept means we leave the risk as is, no action and no control to be developed. We'll take an action when the risk will happen. Avoid means we completely avoid the risk. For example, I have a chance of, let's say, getting into trouble. All right. If I travel by road, I know I may get sick. So what I will do, I will not drive by road. I'll just simply fly. So I completely avoid the risk of this 8 or 10 hours of driving somewhere and get tired and get sick. Well, I'm using this example right away because that just happened to me, right? I drove about 8 hours drive and then, got sick. So you just simply try to avoid that. Sometimes, for example, you have this one resource. We are using Umar to work on something, but we know that Umar is not a senior consultant or senior expert level. So we will not send Umar to work on that specific task. We send maybe Hani to work on that specific task because Hani is more experienced and more mature to take care of the customer. So you avoid completely to get into a risk of customer dissatisfaction by not sending Umar there. All right. Yes, Hani. So it's accepting and then transferring. You transfer the risk, right? Then mitigate, minimize, and then acceptance or avoiding. All right. But normally you start with avoid, transfer, mitigate, and accept the risk. Okay. There was a question about how do we deal with intangible risk? Nawaf. Thank you, Nawaf, for this question. So there are risks that you're talking about, tangible and non-tangible. By the way, I have my background. You see, I'm a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt. So, which majorly has a calculative part, right? So we do a lot of financial or analysis on any of the process or any of the risk. And I believe that anything that we do in terms of risk, anything that we do, we can always come back to a dollar amount. I mean, one way or other, we can actually convert that into a tangible format. So it's our expertise that we have to do that. So for example, if you give any idea, we talked about fertility earlier, right? So we know that in organizations, there's like in Saudi Arabia, there is a penalty for fertility, right? So it's, I don't exactly remember the number, but let's say it's $100,000. So that $100,000 is what we are talking about, quantitative perspective. But then there is a reputation damage. Thank you, Nawaf. Yes, so reputation damage. Now think about this. If your organization will get a reputational damage, and last time something happened, you get 20% of customers left your company. You know, they went to competition. 20% of customers means, for example, $2 million of your revenue. So $2 million of revenue, if because of fertility, 20% of customers leave you, that's $2 million. If it's 40%, that's $4 million, or exactly, you know, how much that value is. So you, and by the way, excuse me, sometimes it doesn't have to be the exact amount. Sometimes it's an estimated value. All right. Sorry, guys. So yeah, it can be estimation based on history. Worse, if you don't have any number in your organization, there is nothing that you can quantify based on your company's history, you benchmark. Or you take someone else's company, you know, your competition, and see how they're doing it. Or you take your industry and see how they're doing it. So you benchmark in your industry, or benchmark against some other industry. If you, even in your industry, you don't find the numbers. So one way or other, there are ways to quantify even the non-tangible, let's say, risks. By the way, since you said Nawaf reputation, we did operational excellence, you know, work for some companies, and one of the thing that we normally ask for, like, have you done your reputational assessment? So that's a good question, Nawaf, to go back and look at your reputational assessment. Do you have it? If you don't even have it, that means how do you know that your reputation is good or is going to be bad? Or if it's going to be impacted, then how much is going to be impacted? So maybe you want to do that first. All right. So that's how you need to work out on. Yeah, rarely done. I agree. Many organizations, they do it only first time. And sometimes maybe your company, you do it in the right way, an easy way, or make it in an easy way so that others will follow. So there are multiple ways, right? You can be the first one to do it in the right way. Or maybe you're the first one to lead, right? And we can help you out in that. All right. So I think that's end of our session, guys. I talk about the processes, right? And then, of course, control risks, the last step, which means what are the risks you have, you implement them, and you make sure that you keep them controlled through the dashboards, right? Okay, by the way, there was again a CEO honored token that they have been given us. I'm standing somewhere there. That's my LinkedIn. You can add me there. If you look for Adnan or Ahmed on LinkedIn, you'll find me. So let's connect. And here's my WhatsApp number as well. I believe that you already have contact information of Dr. 3M. You can always link to him. You already have the number or contact information of Nabila. So you can talk to them as well. You have any questions? By the way, there is risk management detailed training, which is based on ISO 31000 PECB certification. So we'll run that, inshallah, sometime soon. And also business continuity. So just the last one on business continuity. Business continuity means that a disruption will happen, like pandemic, and that will stop your business. And you have to come up with business continuity action items. You need to run your already identified procedures so that you can bring your business up and running as soon as possible based on agreed time frame with the customer. All right. So that's basically what you're looking at. So business continuity is basically how soon you can bring your service up and running as you agreed with the customer. So your business will not be impacted or will be minimal impact. There is a business continuity webinar coming up as well, inshallah. I think we'll share the details. And there's a detailed certification for business continuity lead implementer also by PECB. So we'll share those dates with you. How many of you are interested, by the way, in the risk management or the business continuity certification training? Type in BC or type in risk management. Those who are interested in certification trainings. So Nabila can contact you back. All right, Umar said business continuity. Dr. Maryland said risk management. Sheikh said interested. Mutaz, risk management. Dr. Majid, risk management. Hani, ERM, yes. Shaima, risk management. Adil Rahim, risk management. Hind, interested in both, okay. And Hani shared the number as well, okay. Lama, ERM. Khansa, risk management. Abdullah, risk management, okay, very good. All right, thank you all. And yes, inshallah, Nabila will contact you all or one of the GP representative, inshallah. And just thank you, Sheikh and Iman, for your feedback. Yeah, last thing is just one-liner on your feedback for this session. How was the session overall? Hopefully this 1 hour bring a lot of value to you. Please type in one of your certification. Yes, Nabila will contact you about your certification. I think within a week, you guys normally get the certificates, right? But Nabila will contact you all and we'll share that certification with you. Thank you, everyone. Once again, just your last one word, one statement of your testimonial. That'll be great. One statement of your testimonial. Thanks for informative, valuable presentation. Thank you, Hiba. And here you have also information for our GPMA Academy. So here's an email and phone number also. So you can contact us on that as well. And here's the link we shared for Facebook page. Please follow us. We are missing Dr. 3M today. Normally he gives a very good closing note, but I think he was unable to do that. But
yes, he's actually on a flight right now. He's in the air.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, wish him a safe and pleasant journey. Thank you very much, Nabila. All right. So that's all from my side. Nabila, you want to take over?
Just want to thank you so much, Mr. Adnan, for your very enriching and engaging webinar, wallahi. And thank you to all the attendees for their participation and their engagement and their comments. And yes, a copy of the material will be sent to them very, very soon, inshallah, and all of any other information that they might need. And we'd love to hear from you what else you want to we want for our upcoming webinars. So please respond with that, inshallah. So stay in touch, inshallah, and hoping to see you all soon and have a good night.
Thank you, everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.